I have found that we take the time. It's like New Year's and maybe your birthdays are the perfect time to reflect, then like reset your life, and then take like little meaningful steps. Write down goals and whatnot to improve your future life. And seeing that 2025 just happened 13 days ago from this time of this recording, I also stood there and reflected and realized that if it is not our birthday and it's not New Year's, the only times we will reflect and reset and start this new us is if life forces us to. So although there's times where we pick, I find it very interesting that we won't do it truly until we're forced to. So if you're going through something hard, someone dies, the loss of a job, you get chronically sick, physically sick, whatever it may be, these resets, if you look at it in a different way, it's just really propelling you to your future. That's the existence of life. You're going to have great times and bad times. So I kind of want to talk about that. So when it comes to starting, whether you were forced by life, karma, whatever may happen, God, or whether it's just new year, new me, the first thing I have found, step number one, is make your new identity. Make an identity. I cannot stress enough how important it is to make a new you. I have a few, examples of this, stories. One was when the first time I was dating, like really wanted to start dating, and I realized I was a chubby Mr. Nice guy. I was people pleaser, yes sir, yes ma'am kind of person to everyone. Happy, go friendly, go lucky. I just was the opposite of what I was in high school when it came to, for the most part, like I was not the most agreeable sometimes in high school. So during college and I in my 20s, early 20s, I was like, okay, I'm going to be Mr. Super Nice, and I was chubby and whatnot, and I noticed that didn't get me girls. I was the nice friend. I was the one that was always friend zoned, and so something needed to change. And the only thing I knew to change, because at the time I didn't know, I'm like, you're either nice or you're not, right? Which is not true. I did know about boundaries and just speaking your mind in more authenticity than just trying to like cut around the corner or like beat around the bush and not be potentially hurtful to anyone. I was being very politically correct, let's just say, to everyone. So everyone was happy around me and what I said, unless I was like in one of my moods, and then everyone's like, "What the freak? You're going too far." So I changed my identity. I literally would look in the mirror, topless, naked, just picture my giant body, my tits hanging out, my just belly just protruding like African starving child, my tits just waving in the wind side to side, back fat, love handles just chilling there, my arms are resting on them, everything, everything looks smaller down south when you're so fat. If you could look over your belly and see it, so just picture that, right? I'm giving you this picture for a reason. It's just, that was me. And that's what I woke up to. And so what I would do is I'd stare in the mirror and just imagine abs. And I would look at pictures of guys with abs that I admired. I'm like, okay, I want those kind of abs, because I'd never had abs before then, and to that point. And then I would imagine. So I would take a couple minutes, stare at my abs, and pretend I can see abs, and maybe it was like a minute long sometimes, but I would do that every day religiously. It was part of after I work out, I do that. And then I would stick with my meal plan. Well, fast forward, a couple, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later, I did have an 8-pack. And I looked in the mirror. I remember one time, it like hit me all at once. I was like taking pictures. You know how the laptop has like the ability to take pictures and videos and through that little camera, and I took a picture and I was just like topless and I could see my abs, and I was kind of like sprawled laying out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have abs now. I have abs. Like, even though I'd woken up every morning for the last couple months before that, I finally accepted the fact that I was this new identity. But it didn't happen until I pretended to be a bodybuilder. So I changed my identity from fat guy, fat friend, friend zone, nice guy, to I'm going to be the bodybuilder. I'm going to be the guy who's like kind of religiously, it's almost like he's following a cult. I have my hood on and I'm at the gym every day religiously. Gym, cardio, meal prep. Gym, cardio, meal prep. and sleep well and all that. Like, and I changed. That was my identity. I was the guy carrying the gallon. Like, I became that guy because I saw someone at the gym who I wanted to be, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask him. I'm gonna ask him why you carry a gallon. I'm gonna become him. And he was the most jacked, the biggest guy in the gym, and he was the nicest guy, of course. They look intimidating, but they're super nice. He gave me all his information, knowledge, and I did it naturally. And so that was awesome. So that's how I started. And then kind of similar thing happened. Fast forward, 10 years later, I became a director. And before becoming a director, I thought to myself, what would a director-like leader do? And I put myself like, what would a CEO, C-level leader do? How would they act? How would they just be in hard conversations, easy conversations, whether it's small talk or a longer talk? And that's how. And while still being me. And then I became a director. And then that's kind of like, once again, like, so the importance of identity. I know I took a couple minutes to just talk about that, but I cannot stress enough the importance of changing your identity, especially if this is new year, new you, whether it's world forced or you just wanting to take advantage of the new year reset feeling, right? So while you're doing that, and that whole principle of identity shift, it's really because you're not what you think you are. You are what you actually do repeatedly. Okay, that's you. And in the end, you can either have pain of regrets or pain of discipline. It's your choice, right? So you get to pick what you're gonna do. And what's nice about that is on the flip side, like with getting fat, like I've heard this, like the tree falls wherever it's leaning. So I was already leaning on being a fat F, fat bastard, whatever you want to call it. I was already leaning that way. By my daily actions, by my daily inactions, I was leaning towards that way. So of course, when I fell over time, right, whatever side you fall on, I fell into the undisciplined side. So I chose that. Okay. So I just want you guys to know that. And then also with that, it's really about consistency. And this is number 2, you start small and it's really consistency over perfection. So I would start, if you're really trying to change your body, just increase your proteins. Make sure every day you hit your right amount of proteins. That's how important protein is if you want to change your body. And then you can start working on calorie deficit. You can start working on the harder things, lowering carbs, maybe fats. But I think start small, right? Start those small little things so it's not too overwhelming. It's also a thing of enjoying the process. So it's hard, but I've heard about value-based and learned about value-based setting goals. So instead of I want to be 250, even though those are good goals, or that's a heavy actually for me. It's over what let's say I want to be 200 pounds. And relatively like very lean. It'd be better for me to say I want to do 10,000 steps a day. I want to eat 5 meals a day with protein of 200 grams daily. I want to lift 4 to 5 times a week. I want to do cardio 2 to 3 times a week. Like that is a better goal. They're smart goals, right? But start small, and then over time, you start building these compound effects, this momentum mountain monster, and that's how you get big results in a couple years time. In the meantime, people will be like, what are you doing, man? But later on they're like, dang girl. Okay, so second, with that smart is the smart goals is setting realistic, clear goals. Okay, smart, the acronym, like specific, measurable, look it up, it's all there. Time efficient, all that. So relevant, achievable. So make sure these goals are like that. It makes sense. It's going to happen whether it's financially, physically, or alongside this identity. All right. So if this identity, this guy, he drives this car or lives in this certain lifestyle, how long will that take me? Right. If you got savings, you want to make certain investment jumps, you have to start planning with these SMART goals. Okay. Another thing that I think we overlook, and this is kind of what I've always talked about, and as I've yo-yoed myself, this whole channel is about also like yo-yoing of physical and mental. Like I've gone up and down. Like I've learned, we all do. That's why I hope it's relatable that like I've gone fat, super skinny, chubby, muscly, fat again. Like you yo-yo, right? You yo-yo in life. Life yo-yos you at times. and mentally too. I've been like, I'm on top of the world. I can help everyone because I have so much, to be grateful for, that I can bless others' lives. And I think everyone has been there, hopefully in life, where things are going so good. Like, yeah, let me reach out and help. Let me go. You're just thinking more of others, but this is also identity. You could still be this way in your new, not so dream set you version. Okay. But you should prioritize your health. I think that is huge. And this is not just physical. I'm saying this because we have an upcoming episode coming out on Wednesday with Dr. Robert Glover. And it's just the beginning of something. Part of my new identity that I want to do is interview these intellectuals, these people who are just not only intellectuals. I mean, Dr. Glover is very intellectual. But I also want to interview people that, fascinate me or interesting to me, whatever. And he's one of them, and you got to prioritize your mental state. So if you need help, if you find yourself, you're overreactive, triggered, you're very reactive when your spouse talks to you, or you get in confrontations, you shut down, run away, or you freak out, blow up, go see a therapist. Go one-on-one, get cognitive therapy, get IFS. That's really good. That's a really good way to talk to yourself, where it's like, okay, so if, let's say Zach, let's say my name is Zach is, having this dilemma and he's feeling like really crappy about himself and depressed, what would therapist Zach say to Zach? As soon as you start talking to yourself the way you talk to your best friends, you start to change. We're so mean to ourselves. But if you like recorded the way you talk to your best friends, you're like, oh, you're hot, I'd tap that, Okay, maybe you don't say that, but you know what I mean. Like, you're like very positive, uplifting. I worked out with some guy today. Jake was his name. He's a big guy. He looked muscly. In fact, to me, I'm like, I would like to have that body. And he's like, I'm bulking. He's 235, 240. I've been bulking for 4 years. I can't seem to cut. He looks really lean, still like really good. And the way I hyped him up, like it was like it's so automatic. Why is it so much easier for us to help other people and so hard for us to help ourselves? So much easier for us to talk up and boost up and, just almost like, you guys rock, you rock, to anyone else but ourselves. So that's part of IFS. You go to EMDR therapy, ART, which is like childhood trauma stuff, where like you were abused, yelled at a lot, things like that. You had rough beginnings. That's for you. So go prioritize your health mentally, physically, start walking. All the foundational parts of success is putting yourself first. And that's doing the hardest work. When you do mental work, that is the hardest work. Get yourself to the point where you're not reactive, you're not whatever. Freezing, flighting away from your problems. Okay. One thing I think is important is there's a level of decluttering in your life in the reset of New Year's, and I think that's important. I think there's times where you should cut out maybe bad relationships, toxic relationships, or habits, and make room for growth. And that could be something that's just at your house. You're like, hey, I need to clean this room. This room's a mess. I know I have an office, and it felt very good to just like declutter it. It could be a person, like I said, but I think that's important. And then on the flip side, let in people to help uplift that, or double down on people you already have. I think another is take accountability and responsibility. So this is where you got to start saying, hey, like, maybe my wife has said, whatever, I wish you did, or you haven't done this in a while. Like, take accountability and ask, like, is that true? And what if it is true? What then? Be curious about it and actually start to change. So take responsibility for your own happiness in that sense, right? Instead of blaming others, blaming, anyone, external circumstances, God, anyone but yourself. How about you take accountability and then change what you can change, right? And then do little steps. This will create actually like joy and happiness. The pursuit of happiness starts with accountability. Embracing failure. This is another step. I think we many times are so focused on running towards pleasure and running away from pain. That we forget that it is through our failures, quote unquote, and our biggest pains where we learn the most. I don't remember all the tests I ace, but I definitely have like imprinted. I was like a fairly good academic student, as I can't talk. But I remember the tests I failed. Like I do. And embracing that and realizing that's your biggest growth. So when that happens to you in life, you, like I said, lose a friend, a loved one, you get bad news, you realize you're fat, whatever it may be, right? You lose a job, embrace that. These setbacks are often going to lead you to a better future. And not only that, but it leads you to resilience. This is where you learn wisdom. This is where that older guy that's just like always that calm, cool, collected, and always know what to say. You're becoming that smart, old, wise bastard, You're becoming that smart person. You're becoming that aged person. That person that doesn't freak out as much because they've had a lot of crap thrown at their life. So they're just kind of like, huh, interesting. Right? Good. As Jocko Williams says. Good. Keep it coming. So that's once again, the persistence is the biggest thing, not perfection, okay? And that's even when you're struggling. Have some grace in that, okay? The biggest one I've seen for me as of late, another step, is surround yourself with supportive people. Good people. People who want to see you succeed. Who will help pick you up when you're at your lowest lows. Whether it's family, friends, mentors, a community you find, especially if it's like on a more personal basis and you know your vision. I don't know. I think that's big. I think that's underratedly huge when it comes to success, especially as human beings. We're so social. Leave behind any kind of relationships, not that drain you, hold back. I'm not telling you to leave your spouse and stuff like that. I'm saying like, unless they're abusive and whatnot, like that's a different thing. But I'm saying like relationships that they're not positive. They're actually painful. They're almost a hindrance. They're so negative every time. And I've been that, and I've been grateful for the people who stuck around while I'm in my negativity, while I'm working on myself and had to take accountability. Okay. Another step, I hope you guys are reading books, watching YouTube channels, not to the point of mental masturbation, the point where you're actually applying. Okay. I hope you're, learning new hobbies. New year, new me. Perfect time for new hobbies. I did jiu-jitsu. I can't wait. Once I have money, I will be doing jiu-jitsu. I would love to do that kind of discipline, any kind of fighting martial arts discipline, because that's where you truly can. It's a huge discipline to learn, and you learn humility, which I love. As long as I don't get injured, that's my whole goal, is to not get injured while practicing that. I think this is huge. It's really hard to do when you're like, once the world has kind of, reset you, it's hard. But once you pass the grieving process, do this immediately. Practice gratitude daily. My wife and I used to have a habit of doing what are you grateful for? And we'd go off 10 things, sometimes a ton more, sometimes only like one each, depending on the mood. But man, was that good. It changes it flips your world, your perspective, the way you view, like your own narrative that's always running. It just messes that up. It says, no, like this is what I'm grateful for. So focus on what you have instead of what you don't have. This is huge for a relationship too, guys. I think everything is amplified in a relationship. And so definitely this, okay? But I would just do something as 3 at the beginning of every day. What are you grateful for? And write it down. That's even stronger when you write things down. You just like how it's like proven that your goals, forget the percentage, increase when you write down. I think same with gratitude and how it changes your mind. And it'll help you stay motivated. Okay, so I've already talked about kind of how momentum happens, and so just trust the process. That as you're becoming this new identity, and you're saying, and every day thinking like, what would this version of Ben do? You're gonna do those steps. Would Ben cheat on his diet right now? Would Ben not do the cardio he's supposed to do? Would Ben, you're gonna find ways to push yourself, and I would do it in not like a shaming way, I would once again using like IFS, like you have like different versions or parts in yourself. You have like the kid, I call him Benjito, little Benjito. He's like a 10-year-old stuck in his 10-year-old ways, and he tries to run my life a lot, and he has. And then I have the adult director, CEO level Ben, and Benjamin's what I call him, and Benjamin gets shit done. Benjamin knows how to do it. Even though Benjito has learned how to do it out of survival, he's still a 10-year-old kid. And then I have like the kind of troublemaker Ben in between, Benji, and or Benjo, Banjo Kazooie, as some call it. Like Banjo, kind of, he goes out there and purposely like tries to get a reaction, but he's living life. He's kind of fun. He may be a little bit more of a risk taker, but he's having fun. So these parts of yourself. So when I need advice, I should be going to Benjamin, the guy that gets shit done, calm, cool, collected guy. When I want to have fun, I'm going to Benjo. And then when Benjito wants to speak up, I'm going to listen. You know, he's here to relax. He's done enough. You know, he helped me through my childhood. So I just listen to him when he speaks up and he starts getting reactive or triggered. Okay. So start doing that. This, once again, like imagining yourself, your future self, will help you write down these goals. So I hope you're imagining what it feels like. I think I was doing that for some time. I didn't have the money yet, but I imagined myself driving an Evo like for every day for a few weeks, and next thing you know, right like across from my house, the car dealership gets a white Evo RS, and I asked if I could test drive, and I had like visualized that weeks before, and they're like, yeah, sure, go take it for a drive, and it was the cool, like, to sit in my dream car, and that might, if you guys know, Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 9 MR SSL package, black. That is my dream car. Besides like a supercar, right? A couple supercars I have in my mind, but like it's a tuner, super Carlos car, but I love it. So just visualize yourself, because I mean, I with my physical shape, with my career life, and even with that car, it really does work. It's kind of strange. I think it kind of gravitates it towards your life. I think also one thing is, as you're doing these small and little simple steps, the SMART goals, right? And you're taking these, embracing the failure, but so you'll have days where you kind of go backwards, but you keep going because it's about consistency, not perfection. Once you've been, pretty consistent with some failures, celebrate that small win. And I think that's the last step as you're changing yourself, as you're, you've taken accountability, you spoke well to yourself, the way you hopefully speak to your spouse and your best friends. You speak like that, you're taking these small consistent actions and repeatedly, consistently done what so-and-so, version of you would do. Celebrate a win. Celebrate those wins as you get them. It's all step forward towards who you want to be. And it's hard. It's a long process. This is definitely a marathon. If you guys have ever run a marathon, you know what I mean. It is long. It's slow, especially when you're starting. And you guys are starting. New year, new me, right? You're half of a month in, and you might have already starting to think, I don't know if I could do it. But if you start changing your identity, be like, but would this version of Benjamin do it? Yeah, this guy can do all things. He can do anything he sets his mind to. He's a beast. He's a fierce warrior, whatever you want to view him as, right? So he can do it. And that's going to help you reach your goals when you don't want to. Like, I remember when I was like about to do my bodybuilding show, I was, all right, it's crazy. I was doing a lot of things wrong, all right? Like one time at one point I cut out like sodium and stuff. It was wild. So no pumps whatsoever. Anyways, that was I was a newbie, first time like in the like bodybuilding world. And I was doing 2 hours of cardio. But man, was I religious and do it. Like, I was like, what would bodybuilding Ben do? Yeah, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. And that's one thing too. Be a man of values, a man of principle, a man of standards, or a woman of standards, values, and principles, right? This version of you, hopefully you're all value centered. It's all going to your better. And you got to look at, there's a difference between goals. Like I said, I want to be 200 pounds versus value centered goals, where I want to be that type of person that just loves to run, loves to lift, loves to be healthy for himself and for his kids, right? There's a difference there. The way you say it, the way you said it may be different. Not to say it's nothing bad to have the number goals and things like that, but it helps if it's better if you have that value set goal, because that's like you. It's like who I want to be, who am I becoming? And in the end, that's who we got to celebrate. Is who you are becoming, because we've all done some crap, we've all messed up, we've all, man, like you take someone popular. Everyone sees Chris Bumstead. A lot of life has happened to him with his tearing muscles. He's torn like hamstring, quad, bicep, lat. Like the dude is breaking and falling apart. He has an autoimmune disease that held him back. It had a flare up a couple times, and like, then his hair starts going, and then he broke up with his girlfriend, who was like, they were super serious, and his sister goes through a whole lawsuit, and potentially, I think she was thrown in jail because she was like trafficking steroids. But this is like a big publicized dude, Chris Bumstead, there's whole, but there's good things that happen in his life. It's just more stresses though, right? He was made co-owner of Raw, and then like, Gymshark eventually later. Like a lot of stuff happens, and everyone knows kind of his life, and he just keeps going. It's like, who is he going to become? He becomes a dad. He gets back with that girlfriend, marries her, then she gets pregnant. So I'm saying like life is going to happen to you regardless, but he's a good role model and example to kind of be like, life happens for you, even though it looks at times like it's just happening at you. Like with the losses come the wins, and that's just life. You're going to have pain and pleasure, but we are here, I think, truly to have joy. And not the fleeting joy because I feel, so I want to get high, I want to get drunk, I want to get laid real quick. No, like the valued-centered joy. This joy that actually lasts, the actual peace, right? That I did this choice because I was true to myself, and I didn't, lower my standards, my values, and I became a person of integrity, a person of their word, a person that's reliable and trustworthy. That's more important, okay? So as you become that, make sure if you see those little wins, celebrate those wins, okay? Take yourself out, go treat yourself. Unless you're on a diet and you don't have cheat days in there, then don't cheat yourself until there's a cheat day. Anyways, that's my rant. I just want to say Happy New Year's, New Year, New Me. A lot has happened in my life, and that's all for another time. I just wanted to wish you all Happy New Year's, as you are now on your own path to reflect. Hopefully the reflection is done. That's usually like the first part of January, the first week. Then you can start to reset your life, right? And that sometimes happens, reflecting happens in December, but now it's the time to make meaningful steps, okay? So this is very intentional steps. Intentionality is key when it comes to changing your identity. So walk different, think different, be different. More importantly, act the way you wish to be. And that will carry you to your next best future. Life can suck, guys. And I'm with you there, but make the best of it. And on to the next. Like I said, this coming Wednesday, we have the interview going live, and that's like at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard. So look out for that. Like I said, my topics are always going to be everywhere here and there. I didn't talk about Chris Bumstead, he won his 6th Olympia. And that Mike almost got him. I think he will be Mr. Olympia next year for Classic. And then, you have, of course, he did an open show, Chris Bumstead did. And so the bodybuilding world has been awesome. But during that time, there was a lot going on in my life. So, like more than normal. So I didn't post anything. But I was aware of that. You guys are aware. I'm sure you were overflowing with all that information. There was a fight at the gym, and with a mic guy got chopped in the throat, or like slapped in the throat. I don't know, stuff like that. You guys all know the drama and news with Coach Greg and Mike Israeli, Dr. Israeli, whatever his name is. But that's all. That's here or there. I just hope you guys can enjoy this upcoming interview and enjoy being the new you. Find that identity, create it, visualize it, and start doing. You can think and wish and hope all you want, but until you start doing, you're not going to be that. And I'm here with you in the journey, guys. I'm still trying to get back in shape. This time I am definitely more committed. There was a switch in my brain that I needed. So enjoy it. And as always, over.